What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Cole Simonson here today, and we are talking about the most important account that you can personally have. So if you want to know how I save it and what I do with it, stick around because we're getting into that right now. Now, first, before we begin, comment below if you like that intro. I've been working on them a little bit, trying some different things. Say yes, no, say switch it up. But anyways, here we go, getting down to it. The number one account that everyone should have is the emergency fund. Present day United States, 60% of people cannot cover a $1,000 emergency without going into debt. That's an outrageous number of people. What are they doing? $1,000 adds up really quick. A little trip to the hospital or a car breaking down is $1,000 really quick. So if they don't have $1,000, what happens? Well, they have to take out a loan or they go into debt to someone else, which is not good because that type of debt doesn't pay, it costs. Now, first off, I'm going to get into why I think we have such a problem saving. And in all reality, I think it starts almost 30 plus years ago when we started getting a little bit more entitlement of what we should have and what we need. And I feel that we should have everything that we want and that we actually need it. But in all reality, we don't. I feel that there's been so much outside pressure from magazines, media, social media, to look good and look like you have money, that really people don't save the money. That's a serious problem. They can run around with Gucci belts or bags or whatever and only have $5 in their bank account. That's not good. I also believe that it's our education system. Our education system's so worried about there, and finding X that they can't teach someone how to make a monthly budget or how to save $1,000. I feel that the education system needs to be based more on real life experiences and what actual kids and students need than be based on what they have been teaching for years and years. It's time to switch it up a little bit. Now, that being said, this is the great thing about YouTube. Anyone can go on and learn about finance. Now, getting back to the emergency savings account topic and why we'd have one, I'm going to give you a quick example. So, I live in a very boom and bust city. It's either really, really good or really, really bad. There's no in between. Well, a couple months ago, a company decided to close its doors without pretty much telling its employees that they were closing. So they showed up one morning and the gates were locked and they were told to go home. Oh, by the way, you aren't getting paid your last paycheck and your retirement account. That's not happening either. Can you imagine the shock to those people? And I'm betting that a lot of them didn't expect it, and there was a lot of bills that they had coming that they couldn't afford because they didn't save enough money. Now that's an extreme example, but it does happen in the real world. Thankfully, we had a lot of generous families and companies actually call them up and give them jobs. And so a lot of them are back to work right now. But that's how fast an emergency can happen. One day you're happy-go-lucky, you're paying all your bills, and then the next you have so many bills racked up and you don't have a job. Now I'm going to get down to the nitty-gritty of actually building your emergency account. We're going to start small, but I don't want to start too small. So, in my opinion, a lot of people say $1,000 to start with, Well, we're going to go with that goal a little bit higher, up to 2,000. It's going to take a little bit more time and a little bit more diligence when it comes to your savings, but you'll actually have a cushion for that'll last you probably a good month. Now, in this, we have to decide how we're going to save it. My favorite way to save is actually cutting my spending. So here's how I do mine and how I make it work for me, and hopefully it'll help you. We're going to take our base pay that we make in 1 month. So let's say I make $5,500 in 1 month. Now, with what I make, I round down to the next 1,000. Instead of making $5,500, I actually mentally think I make $5,000, and that $500 disappears. Now, if you're a severe low income with $2,000 a month is all you make, or $2,500 is all you make, I'd round down to like $2,250. As long as you round down a little bit, so you're guaranteed you're going to save a couple hundred. So I have my $5,000 that I make, $500 disappears into a savings. Then I go to my expenses. And let's say after all my expenses, payments, bills, and food, which are our three main expenses, that I spend $1,700 every month. Well, with my expenses, I round up, okay? So I round up to $2,000. That way I have a big cushion with my expenses, and I have an extra $300 in case I have an expense that actually grows, such as an energy bill or a gas bill. Now, this gives me a nice little cushion when it comes to my expenses, and so that $300 is a nice buffer zone to where I don't have to worry about a bill being unexpectedly large. I can still pay it. So we have our what we make and our expenses, and so we make $5,000 a month, and we spend $2,000 a month. 5 minus 2 is 3, so we have $3,000 left a month. Now, this is with my income. If you're higher or lower, you'll have more or less, but this is how I do it. So that $3,000 is going to be split up into a couple different things. I'm going to take my $3,000 and I'm going to take $2,000 of that and put it in my emergency account. And then I'm going to take the other $1,000 and I'm going to half that, and half is going to go into investing and the other half is going to go into home repairs and automotive repairs and just maintenance in general. That way I don't have to dig into my emergency fund when I need to go get my oil change, or I have a door that came off the hinges and I need to fix a door. That's just how I make sure the little unexpected costs don't affect my account. Now we have our account slowly start building there. And if you've cut your spending and you're making a decent amount of money, your account will grow really fast. And depending on your situation is depending how much you save in your savings account for an emergency. And now I like to categorize this in 4 different ways: single, couple, small family, and large family. Single is going to be the lowest savings account, mainly because it's easier for you to pick up and move if you need to move for another job. It's easier for you to save a lot more money because you have a lot less expenses. And so that single account is only going to be about 3 months of savings for an emergency. And if your expenses are $2,000 a month for 3 months, that's only about $6,000 for a single person. Personally, I go up to about 6 months. That's just me, so $12,000 for me. But $6,000 for 3 months worth of expenses is not a lot of money to save if you're working hard, getting paid enough, and you're not spending. Now, couples are about the same as a single. I just move my months up a little bit more. Instead of 3 months, I go 4 to 6 or 6 to 8. That way, you two are going to be able to pay off any unexpected expenses really fast, and there aren't too many unexpected expenses with two people, and so it doesn't really affect you guys that much. Now we start with a small family, and a small family I highly recommend 6 to 8 months, and depending on your jobs, if you have dual income or not, if it's just single income, I definitely go with the higher 8 months. If you have dual, then 6 months, because in all reality, it's very unlikely that both of you will lose your job, or emergency will affect both of your abilities to work. So you're able to have one out on work, but still have 6 months saved up in expenses while the other one's still working. Now, for a large family, you definitely want anywhere from 10 months to a year. That's just because there's so much more expenses with a large family. Now, you'll have to sit down with your family and actually talk about how much you need and how much you actually want in your emergency savings account. It'll definitely be based off your pay and how much you guys spend and what your lifestyle's like. But to save this money, you will have to make spending cuts. You may not get to take that vacation you want, or your vacation every year, and you might just have to really cut back on everything you do, and you might just have to be really boring for 6 to 8 months or even a year to save that money, so your family will be supported in an emergency. Now, here's a couple ways to actually make the money faster so you don't have to wait as long to have your emergency account build up. If overtime is open at your jobs, work a lot of overtime, and everything you make from overtime goes straight into the emergency savings account. That will build it up enormously fast in a hurry. You might have to work a couple months hard, but it'll build it up extremely fast. That's how I personally built up mine in probably less than 6 months. Number 2, we got to stop spending. When I need to stop spending, I literally go on what I call a chicken and rice diet. It's veggies, chicken, and rice for almost every meal. It's super cheap to make, and it's very filling, and it makes a ton of meals. This being said, we also stop eating out, going to movies. Anything that is an unneeded expense, we cut it. Like I said, you'll have to be really boring for 6 months to a year to get this done, but it'll pay off in the long run. Third is to sell. Purge your house. Go through everything you don't need, put it up on Facebook, eBay, and just sell it. And there's a lot of money just laying around your house, and it'll build up that savings account super fast. And then this one comes after you've saved your at least $2,000 in your emergency account. So you probably would want to do the steps before this: overtime, stop spending, and sell. before you do this, and you get a couple thousand actually built up. That way you actually focus on paying off your bad debts. Now, if there's small debts, that's where we want to pay them off. If you have a couple $1,000s left on a car payment or any type of payment, pay those off. It'll open up a couple $100s every month to put into that savings account. But if you have a large debt, let's say $20,000 left on that car, sell the car. And I actually have a video about this. You guys can check it out on why you'd not want a new car. So sell that car and get a beater. That'll open up a lot of money every month for you. After the 6 months or a year that you stayed diligent in your spending and you worked your ass off and you've just built up your account to where you actually feel that it's needed to be, what do you do from here? Well, you have your emergency account. A lot of people will tell you, go reward yourself with something small, which it's not a bad idea. But in my opinion, if you had trouble spending before this and you had trouble saving before this, why would you want to go reward yourself with something you spent money on? It possibly can get you back into a bad habit. Now, I'm not saying that through the 6 to 12 months of doing this that you didn't actually make good habits and you can have some self-control now. But there is a possibility that you can go back to your bad habits. And that's not good. So if you want to reward yourself, keep it really small. Take the family out for a nice little dinner, and that's it. Or you can reward yourself in a different way and continue working like you had and continue to be diligent like you have and start taking all the money that you are saving now and not putting it into your emergency fund, but finding somewhere to invest it. A retirement account is great. Stocks are great if you know what you're doing. Anything that'll actually build your money instead of waste it, it's a good idea to start looking into after you have your emergency account built. Now, I appreciate you guys sticking around. I hope you learned a lot from this. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Now, comment below if you have an emergency account or if you're saving one. I'd love to hear it, and I'd love to hear if this helped you guys. Share this with someone that needs it, and I will see you guys on the next video, and have an awesome day.